Here we are at Royston on the Great Northern Line awaiting a train for Stevenage. In today's episode we're going to be looking at Stevenage Station and the model railway show which is on this particular day. After this we're going to head over to Ely Station for some train spotting to see the many passenger and freight workings of the modern era. So buckle up and prepare yourselves for some electrifying train action. Stevenage Station is located in Hertfordshire, England, and houses two main lines, the Great Northern Line and East Coast Main Line, meaning you get a variety of different trains, such as local passenger trains and high-speed services, such as this Class 91 heading into the station right now. The British Rail Class 91 is a class of 225 kilometres per hour, 4,830 kilowatts, electric locomotive ordered as a component of the East Coast Main Line modernisation and electrification programme of the late 1980s. The Class 91s were given the auxiliary name of Intercity 225. This was to indicate their top speed of 225 kilometres per hour, 140 miles per hour. Time for some fly-throughs as a Class 387 heads with a train bound for London. After this, the Class 91 rockets past with a train bound for Peterborough. In 1985, ASEA Brush and GEC Transportation Projects tendered for the design and construction of the Class 91s. GEC subsequently won the bid and the fleet was built by subcontractors of British Rail Engineering Limited Crew Works between 1988 and 1991. The Class 91s began passenger service on the 3rd of March 1989, when 91001 worked the 1P26 1736 London King's Cross to Peterborough train. This train was formed of Intercity 125 Mark III coaches and a Class 43 power car converted for use as a DVT, as the Mark IV coaches were not yet ready. A while later, a Class 66 shed heads through the station on an empty stock run. A few minutes later, a Class 43 HST flies through the station with a train bound for London. Followed by a Class 180 which is heading for Peterborough. Now heading into Stevenage Platform 3 is a special liveried Class 91 in the form of 91101 in the famous Flying Scotsman train livery. In the early 1990s, after the cancellation of the Intercity 250, British Rail examined the option of ordering a further set of 10 Class 91s to operate on the West Coast Main Line, with UK Treasury support. However, the business case for these failed to prove sufficiently worthwhile, and led to the electric networker classes 365, 465 and 466 EMU networker stocks being taken forward. The locomotive now departs, soon to be passing another Class 91 which will fly through the station with a train bound for London. This is one of the shots we really wanted to capture, the site of a Class 313 electric multiple unit. These units have been around for many years, and it's said that the units will be scrapped very soon, as you can see by the wornness of their livery, that the time is soon to be coming. The 313s are a dual-voltage electric multiple unit train built by Braille York Works between February 1976 and April 1977. They were the first second-generation EMUs to be constructed for British Rail, and the first British Rail units with both a pantograph for 25 kilovolts AC overhead lines and shoe gear for 750 volts DC third rail supply. The unit departs Stevenage with a train bound for Moorgate as it passes the Class 387, heading through the station with a train bound for King's Lynn. Now it's time for me and Simon to head over what we came to Stevenage for, the Model Railway Show. Here we are at Ely Station now in June 2018. Ely Station is a very busy junction station connecting various different lines around East Anglia, and this will explain the multiple workings of passenger and freight traffic heading through the station at any one time. The first locomotive we see heading into the station is a Class 158 Express Sprinter locomotive. Class 158 was built specifically for British Rail between 1989 and 1992 by British Rail Engineering Limited and its Derby Lichchurch Lane works. They were built to replace many locomotive-hauled passenger trains and allowed cascading of existing Sprinter units to replace elderly heritage DMUs. The Class 159 DMUs are almost identical to the 158s, having been converted from a Class 158 to 159 in two batches. A while later, in Platform 1, a Class 387 arrives, with a train bound for King's Lynn. The Class 387 Electrostar is an electric multiple unit built by Bombardier Transportation for Thameslink, now transferred to the Great Northern Line, Gatwick Express, C2C and Great Western Railway, with the first delivered in December 2014. They are a part of the Electrostar family, being related to classes 357, 375, 376, 377, 378 and 379. The Class 387 is a variation of Bombardier's Class 379 Electrostar with a higher maximum speed of 110 miles per hour. The units arrived on the Great Northern Line from late 2016. 29 of the Class 387s operating on the Thameslink were displaced by the delivery of the Class 700 Destro City units and were transferred to Great Northern. They operate mostly on the King's Cross, Cambridge and King's Lynn route, though they can also be seen on other services. These units were delivered in a white livery with southern green doors. Great Northern's Class 387s are restricted to 100 miles per hour by GTR. Occupying Platform 1 now is the well-known Class 170 Turbostar, and which is a British diesel multiple unit train built by Bombardier Transportation again, at its Derby Letchchurch Lane works. Introduced after privatisation, these trains have operated regional as well as long-distance services, and to the lesser extent, suburban services. 139 units were built, but some were later converted to Class 168 or Class 171 units. The Class 170s were introduced in the late 90s and now can be seen working all over the British Rail network, and they are probably one of British Rail's most successful modern units. We now head away from the station and head line side as we see a Class 66 shed in DB Schenker livery, which was seen at Stevenage earlier on in the programme. On the privatisation of British Rail's freight operations in 1996, Wisconsin Central Transportation Systems, under the control of Ed Birkenhardt, bought a number of the newly privatised rail freight companies: Transrail, Mainline, Loadhaul and later Rail Freight Distribution and Rail Express Systems, controlling 93% of the UK rail freight. After a public relations exercise involving the input of the general public, the company was named English, Welsh and Scottish. DB Schenker, or DB Cargo UK, bought out EWS. Their Class 66 fleet includes 5 locomotives capable of banking heavy trains over the Lickey Incline. On these specific locomotives, the knuckle coupler has been modified to allow remote releasing from inside the cab whilst in motion. It also includes 15 locomotives fitted with RETB signalling equipment for working in northern Scotland, and RETB fitted branch lines. A few DB Cargo UK Class 66s are now working in Europe as part of the Eurocargo rail contract. The Class 66 is a type of 6-axle diesel-electric freight locomotive developed in part from the Class 59 for use on the railways of the UK. Since its introduction, the class has been successful and has sold to British and other European railway companies. In continental Europe, it is marketed as the EMD Class 66. Freightliner Class 66 now heads towards Ely Station with a container train. '66 140 now heads up into Ely Station with a container train, this being one of the last 66s to carry the EWS livery. We were lucky enough to see a 66 pass another 66 in the form of 66 719 Metroland in GBRF livery heading through Ely Platform 2 with a container train. At the end of Ely Platform 2 now we see a Class 387 pulling into Platform 1. And in Ely Outer Sidings, a Class 70 and 66 await the right of way with a Colas Rail freight train. A cross-country Class 170 now leaves Platform 3 with a train bound for Stansted Airport. The Class 70 is a 6-axle Coco mainline freight GE Powerhaul locomotive series manufactured by General Electric in Erie, Pennsylvania. The order placed in 2007 for 20 units, with an option of for further 10 for Freightliner for operations in the United Kingdom. In November 2013, Colas Rail announced it had agreed the deal to procure 10 Class 70 locomotives. It's very rare to see a Class 70 in action at Ely. In this particular case, it is pulling a dead Class 66 as it replaces its freight train service. Here she is, heading through Ely Platform 1. You may have noticed by now that the Class 70 relates heavily to the Class 58 bone locomotives. This has been said by various enthusiasts around the UK. A while later we see another Freightliner Class 66 in the form of 66540 Ruby as she heads through Platform 2 with a Freightliner container train. Skipping forward in time to the 8th of November 2018, I head out for some uni filming in Ely and Cambridge. However, I decided to film some trains while doing it. At the far loop at Cambridge, I witnessed the sight of Harry Beck and Sunderland Class 66 diesel locomotives sat there on a railhead treatment train. The railhead treatment train is also known as a sandite train. Sandite is a substance used on railways in the UK, Ireland, US, the Netherlands and even Belgium to combat leaves on the line, which can cause train wheels to slip and become damaged with flat spots. Sandite consists of a mixture of sand, aluminium and a unique type of adhesive. Leaf build-up on the railhead can also cause signalling issues and disappearing trains on rail control systems because of the electrically insulated effect on the leaves, which can prevent operation of track circuits. British Rail conducted research in 1976 to determine the suitability of sandite for use as an adhesion improver. Heading into Cambridge Platform 7 is a Class 700, and as mentioned earlier, the 700s replaced the 387s on the Thameslink trains. The 700s were brand new at this point in time, and they opened the possibility of passengers running from Cambridge to Brighton on a Thameslink train. And with the 700s and 387s now the main source of traction on the Northern Line, the Class 365s and 379s are starting to fade away and be withdrawn from service. Over the far side of Cambridge, in the sidings, we see the sight of two Class 37-5 locomotives on a Network Rail test train. The 37-5s were updated in a similar fashion to the 37-4 subclass, except that they did not receive electric train heating. This particular variation of 37 has been updated to have Y-pack lights for use of the main line. Now back at Ely once again, I captured some interesting sights when I was down here filming for uni, as we see a stray Class 66 light engine heading into the loop at Ely. A while later, a Class 70 then runs through the station light engine. I was very lucky on this day, at 3:15, to see the Network Rail test train taken by the Class 37s heading through Ely Station. What a sight this was! 37607 leads the train with 37612 on the rear. As the 37s head off into the distance, this ends our train adventure. Thank you for watching this Railriders episode, and we hope that this has inspired you to watch more episodes in this series. Goodbye for now. Railriders, get ready. We are going along the Great Central Lines.
Will, would you like to give us an update of the situation?
We've missed the train.
Basically, we're stranded here for 2 hours.